4 dangerous morning mistakes people over 70 make and how to avoid them. Elderly wisdom quotes. This morning, I lost a friend. That was the first sentence of the call from Mr. Harold, my neighbor who lived just 3 blocks away from my house in Glendale, California. His voice choked as he recounted that his wife, Sylvia, had died this morning after falling in the bathroom. She was only 72. A woman still full of energy, still tending to her rose garden, still walking her dog, Marley, every morning. No one knew that this morning would be the last time they would speak. The doctor said her heart suddenly weakened due to the sudden change in position, and the cold early morning weather made things worse, he said, as if trying to find a reason to understand the incomprehensible. When Harold hung up, I sat quietly in the warm kitchen, holding a cup of hot ginger tea that my wife had made, my heart heavy as a rock. We, those of us in our 70s, 75s, 80s, often tell ourselves that age is just a number. But sometimes just one small mistake in the morning, a seemingly harmless action, can be the end of a person's life. And the scariest thing? We don't even know we're making these mistakes every day. I decided to sit down and write down Sylvia's story, and that of many seniors across America, to remind myself, you and our loved ones, of the 4 dangerous morning mistakes that people over 70 are prone to making. Not everyone has a stroke. Not everyone falls and breaks a bone. But we all have the potential to start the day with a bad choice and then never get a chance to make it right. In this video, I'll tell you about seemingly harmless habits that are silently destroying your heart, your nervous system, your balance, and sometimes your life. But don't worry, because each mistake has a simple fix if you recognize it. Sylvia's story is just the beginning. There's Robert in Texas, who suffered a heart attack after skipping a glass of water in the morning. There's Margaret in Portland, who broke her hip after getting out of bed too quickly. And there are many more. Maybe your neighbors, maybe you, or someone you love. And the fourth mistake, the one that most people least expect, is the one that can lead to dizziness, disorientation, and a much higher risk of death. But almost no elderly person pays attention to it. Before we begin, if you find this content useful to you or your loved ones, please like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on other important stories and tips in upcoming videos. And if you have witnessed or experienced a similar situation, leave your story in the comments. Who knows, it could save someone's life. And don't hesitate to share this video with friends or family who are entering a vulnerable age. One click can make a huge difference. Now, let's dive into the first mistake. A mistake that I myself made and paid for with a dizzy spell and almost fell in the middle of the living room. First mistake: getting up too quickly. Continuing the emotional flow from Sylvia's death. Harold said that Sylvia woke up that day as usual. She opened her eyes at 6:12 a.m. He remembered it clearly because he looked at the clock when he heard the bathroom door close. But a few seconds later, he heard a dry sound, like something heavy falling onto the cold tile floor. He ran in. Sylvia lay on her side on the floor, eyes still open, but no longer moving. Doctors said she had postural hypotension, a condition that occurs when older people sit up and stand too quickly after lying down for hours. Blood doesn't get to the brain fast enough. The heart isn't ready. The brain is starved of oxygen. And that heart, with just one misfire, is what killed her. Sylvia's story is not uncommon. In Tucson, Arizona, George Allen, a 76-year-old retired postal worker, woke up early every morning. He thought, "I'm still healthy, I don't need to take it slow." One day, as he was about to get out of bed and hurry to pick up his grandson, he felt his world spinning. There was a wall in front of him, and then darkness. George fell and hit his head on the wooden floor of the living room. Luckily, he did not suffer any brain damage. But the doctor warned, if this happens again, you may not be so lucky. Do you ever wake up feeling dizzy, lightheaded, like you have to hold onto the wall to keep your balance, don't dismiss it. It's not just getting older. It's a sign that your body needs to transition more slowly and deliberately. After a long night of lying still, blood tends to pool in the lower part of the body. In older people, the nervous system that regulates blood pressure is not as responsive as it was when they were younger. When you sit up, blood doesn't get to your brain fast enough, causing a phenomenon called orthostatic hypotension, extremely dangerous because it causes dizziness, loss of consciousness, and falls. Simple change that could save your life. When you wake up, take a few precious seconds to give your body a break. Don't rush out of bed. Do this. I call it the three-step morning ritual. 1. Deep breaths. Close your eyes. Bring your awareness to your body. Feel your fingers and toes, and gently sway. 2. Roll your body gently to the left or right, depending on which hand you are more comfortable with. Then push yourself up onto your hands and sit up slowly, holding the sitting position for a few seconds. 3. Place your feet on the ground, gently stretch your wrists, ankles, roll your shoulders, and count to 10 before standing up. If you have a bedside or handrail nearby, use it to steady yourself. It only takes 30 to 45 seconds, but could prevent a scary fall or an outcome like Sylvia's. I've met many people like George who took the first few moments of the day for granted, but have changed their habits thanks to a timely piece of advice. And you can do the same for yourself or for a loved one. If you're making this video for your mom, dad, or grandparent, don't just send them the link. Sit next to them, turn on the video, and practice the 3 steps together. Sometimes it's the little things that keep them engaged. And now, come with me to the second mistake, a seemingly harmless one that thickens your blood, raises your blood pressure, and can be the silent enemy of your heart every morning. Mistake number 2. Skipping drinking water in the morning. After Sylvia's experience, I began to observe myself more closely, not just about getting out of bed, but also about the habits I had maintained for the past 40 years. One of them was, I did not drink water immediately upon waking. Every morning, I went straight to the kitchen, turned on the coffee maker, and waited for the first ping like a sacred ritual. I never thought I was poisoning my heart until the day my wife, Martha, put her hand on my shoulder and said, "You look a little sluggish this morning. Have you had some water?" I laughed and joked, "What water? I'm drinking coffee." She shook her head. "No, I mean water. Plain water, not caffeinated water." Martha, a retired nurse who worked at a senior center in Boulder, Colorado, saw many elderly people admitted to the hospital simply because they were dehydrated in the morning, something that seemed impossible considering they were well fed. She told me about an old lady named Edith Chapman, 81 years old, who suffered a mild stroke after waking up one cold morning and going straight to the backyard to water her plants, without drinking a drop of water. He only remembers that his mind went blank for a few seconds. Then his hands shook. He lost his grip on the water bottle and he fell to the cement floor. His daughter found him in time and took him to the emergency room. The doctor concluded that his body was severely dehydrated, leading to thick blood, weak circulation, and the brain not receiving enough oxygen. At that moment, I suddenly look back at myself and my friends. Frank, a close friend from our days working on the Chicago subway, is 74. Every time we meet, I hear him complain about his slow mind in the morning. He has a dry mouth, a slight headache, and is irritable for no reason. When I ask him, "What is the first thing you drink every morning?" Frank laughs. "You know it. Why do you ask? Black coffee without sugar." We sat silently in the coffee shop in Lincoln Park that day, each of us thinking, perhaps it was time to stop taking this little thing so lightly. Did you know that after 70 years old, the body no longer has the ability to rehydrate quickly like when we were 30 or 40 years old? While sleeping, we lose from zero point 0.5 to 1 liter of water through breathing and sweat, even without moving. That makes the blood thicker. The heart has to contract harder to pump blood, and the kidneys start to be overloaded just because of lack of materials. A glass of water, just a small, warm glass, can help keep your digestive system running smoothly, your kidneys cleansed, and your brain well perfused. From that day on, I started keeping a small glass bottle of water on my bedside table. Every morning, before I even set foot on the floor, I would drink it slowly, as a thank you to the heart that was still beating in my chest. You don't need to drink too much, just 150 to 200 milliliters of warm water, with a few drops of lemon if you like. If you have a cold stomach, warm the water slightly, not too hot, not too cold. If you are taking medication in the morning, drink this water. Don't wait until after your coffee. I remember the last time I went for a checkup, the doctor looked at my blood pressure and pulse and said, "Have you started any new good habits?" I laughed and said, "I'm starting to respect water more." The next morning, I called Frank. "Hey," I said, "I didn't make coffee right away this morning. I drank water first. And guess what? My mind is much clearer." Frank laughed into the phone and then texted the next day. "I tried it too. For the first time in 2 years, I woke up not feeling angry. Really." Now, every time I pass by an elderly person's room in a nursing home or hospital, I notice that the person who has water on the table looks more refreshed. They are more alert, less panicked, and most importantly, less dizzy, and have to call the nurse less often. Remember this: before drinking coffee, let your body be cleansed with the thing it needs most, water. Don't wait until you're thirsty, because the feeling of thirst, especially in older adults, comes too late for what your body really needs. Now, I'm going to tell you about the third mistake, a mistake that I bet 90% of Americans over 70 are making: drinking coffee on an empty stomach. No one is telling you to stop drinking coffee, but there is a right way to drink it if you don't want to turn your favorite drink into a hidden poison. Mistake 3. Drinking coffee on an empty stomach. A cup of coffee can become a knife. In San Jose, California, there is a man named Richard Evans, 75 years old, retired after more than 40 years as an engineer at Lockheed Martin. A quiet man, loves to research machines and especially loves pure black coffee. "Coffee is my morning breath," he told me when we first met at a senior heart health conference in California. Every morning, Richard makes coffee as soon as he wakes up, even before brushing his teeth. He eats nothing, not a piece of bread, not a piece of fruit, just coffee, strong, hot, and empty, like his stomach. He thought nothing of it until he was 74, when he began to feel mildly nauseous, a lump in his throat, and an irregular heartbeat every morning. One day, he had to sit down after drinking coffee because his chest felt like someone was squeezing it. Diagnosis: chronic acid reflux, plus morning sympathetic hypertension, because caffeine has too strong an effect on the body on an empty stomach. I understand that feeling because I was there too. Many of us, especially those born in the 1940s and 1950s, grew up with this routine: morning coffee, newspaper, radio. We consider the cup of coffee a sacred ritual, the key to opening the door to a new day. But as we age, our bodies become more fragile, our stomachs are more vulnerable, our cardiovascular systems are more slow-acting, but more profound. Drinking coffee on an empty stomach is pushing acid straight into the delicate lining of our dormant stomach. And if you've ever found yourself feeling anxious for no apparent reason, or having a slight tremor in your hands after drinking coffee, it's not because you're weak, it's because your body doesn't have anything to base the caffeine on. Coffee on an empty stomach is like pumping gas into an engine without oil. It will burn, but then the damage will be silent. After listening to his doctor's advice, Richard started eating half a banana, a few slices of oatmeal cookies, or a small apple before drinking his coffee. After just a week, he was surprised to find that he no longer had heartburn or the irritable feeling in the morning. I even felt calmer and more clear-headed, he said. Another story is that of Linda Mayers, 78, who lives alone in a quiet residential area in Cincinnati, Ohio. She always starts her day with black coffee and television, but she often complains of unexplained heart palpitations between 9 and 10 a.m. Her daughter, a nutritionist, came home one day, quietly observed, and then suggested, "Mom, why don't you try something light before drinking coffee?" And then a miracle happened. Her heart stopped beating erratically. Remember, no one is forcing you to give up coffee, but learn to respect your body. Some options you can try: a handful of walnuts, almonds, or chia seeds, a slice of whole wheat bread with peanut butter, a banana, great for stabilizing potassium, preventing cardiovascular spasms, or simply a few apple slices dipped in almond butter, light but enough to wake up the stomach. Caffeine is absorbed more slowly, without causing a shock, without increasing cortisol, the stress hormone that is already high in the morning in the elderly. And you will find yourself gently awake, instead of being pulled to the peak and then falling freely after a few hours like before. Sobriety should not be accompanied by nausea, anxiety, or headaches. It should be accompanied by peace and serenity, the way a worthy old person should start his day. Mistake 4. Ignoring morning stiffness and trying to move before your body isn't ready. In the peaceful countryside outside Asheville, North Carolina, where the old maple trees stand still in the morning mist, there is an old man whose name I will always remember: Walter Jennings, 78 years old. He lives alone in a small wooden house near the edge of the woods, with his dog named Blue and an old piano from his wife's life. Walter was a music teacher, a calm man who started his mornings by opening the curtains, putting on a Bach concerto, and stepping out onto the balcony to breathe in the cool morning air. But one cold December morning last year, Walter couldn't get the music to play. There was no sound of curtains being drawn, no footsteps on the balcony, only Blue's shrill barking. Neighbors found him curled up in the hallway, next to his unworn slippers. Walter slipped and fell due to losing his balance. His knees were still stiff after a night of inactivity. I remember the first time I heard Walter tell this story, his voice dropped. "I woke up with a stiff back and stiff knees, but I thought, I'm fine. It's just old age," and I took a step, one step, two steps. On the third step, my legs betrayed me. Walter's story is no exception. I've seen too many seniors, in nursing homes, in parish communities, in parks, ignore stiffness, thinking it's normal, and then rush to get moving, trying to keep up with their medication, make it to Sunday church, walk the dog, and then fall. When you sleep, your body is at complete rest. Blood flow is reduced, and muscles and joints are not adequately lubricated. Older adults produce less synovial fluid, the fluid that keeps joints lubricated. The result is stiffness in the shoulders, back, knees, wrists, and ankles. If you ever feel like a rusty machine every morning, that's your body calling for help. We can't force the body to function the same way it used to, but we can treat it the way a craftsman would reawaken an old piano, gently, one key at a time. I remember one spring morning I visited Walter after he had recovered. He no longer goes out to the balcony as soon as he wakes up. Instead, he lay still for a few minutes, stretching, rotating his wrists, gently rotating his ankles in circles. He closed his eyes, listening to Bach playing softly from the Bluetooth speaker. Then he lifted one knee, pulled it to his chest, held it for a few seconds, and switched sides. Each of these movements, he said, was like opening a joint door, lighting a lamp of blood circulation. After only 5 minutes of warming up, he sat up, put his hands on his thighs, and walked slowly as if he were strolling through a chapel. Walter's doctor calls it a morning baptism for his joints and recommends that all patients over 65 do it every morning before getting out of bed. I learned from him. Now, every morning, I open my window to the soft sunlight, put my hand on my heart, and say, "Good morning, my old but brave body." Then I begin the ritual of opening the day, gently, respectfully, and kindly to myself. Because if you skip that step, you're walking on frozen ground without a walking stick. And one slip, even the smallest, could land you in the hospital for 6 months. Or worse, never going back to the balcony, never sitting down to play the piano again. Ask yourself every morning, is my body ready? If not, take a few minutes back, like a conductor waiting for the orchestra to start playing. Because if you value every day you have left, every step must be a ritual. A morning that will never reappear. Sylvia's story, Richard's story, Walter's story, my story, are not just personal snapshots. They are mirrors of a truth that many older people never realize. Mornings are not a time to catch up. They are a time to prepare for the rest of your life. No one lives forever, but there are ways to live better, deeper, and more sustainably, starting with the first 5 minutes of every day. Don't get up too quickly. Don't forget to drink water. Don't drink coffee on an empty stomach. Don't walk while your body is still asleep. Remember what you just heard today. And if you find yourself or someone you love making one of these 4 mistakes, don't wait until tomorrow to fix it. Start tomorrow morning. I'd love to hear your stories. Have you ever made any of these 4 mistakes? How have you changed your morning routine to protect your health? Leave a comment. Maybe your story will help someone else. And if you found this video helpful, please share it with your family, friends, or anyone who is turning 70. Your small actions can make a huge difference. Finally, don't forget to click subscribe to follow the next stories, where I will continue to bring life knowledge, life lessons, and practical health journeys exclusively for the elderly community.